What's up, everybody? Thank you for checking out the show. This podcast was filmed exclusively for odds.com. Make sure you click the link below. Go check out the full replay on odds.com as we break down UFC Fight Island 8. Let's get this wrapped up. Main event time. Michael Chiesa taking on Neil Magny in a 5-round main event on a Wednesday morning on an island in the middle of a pandemic. There's a headliner for you. What a fight we've got going here. So what we've got is a fighter that I have regularly been unimpressed with, and a fighter that I have been riding to the bank like he's my personal Clydesdale. Neil Magny is a guy that we have been on constantly. All I've done is bet Neil Magny lately. Ever since he lost to Sergio in his comeback, we cash on Neil Magny. I love this dude's skill set. He's big for the division. He's tall. He's long. He's got excellent wrestling. He trains in Denver, so that gas tank is more of a weapon than it is a skill. His underhooks are great. He turns around these standing situations to bully his opponents up against the fence. His striking has come a long way. Neil Magny is the complete package, and he's a sleeper in the division. Ever since coming back from that bad knockout, I feel like he's really turned a corner. He's really righted the ship. His fight IQ is extremely high, and I love that he always sticks to the plan. When it comes to sports betting, especially MMA, when a fighter won't follow the game plan, that's the most infuriating thing you can ever run into. You've got these spots where you've got this guy that you're like, oh, your jiu-jitsu is so sick, you can snap this guy's arm off at any point in time, and they decide they want to strike. Kills your bet. Completely kills your bet. Money gone. Poof. See ya. Because the fighter didn't do what we saw their skill set would allow them to do, right? That's not Neil Magny. You are always going to get Neil Magny. When Magny fights, you're going to get the same exact fighter every single time. He's just going to get better every time he does it. Chiesa, on the flip side, cutting way too much weight down at 155, finally makes the jump to 170, and he looks like a new man, let's be honest. Extremely high-level grappler, awful striking. This guy's been around forever, and still, I don't know how he's as bad on the feet as he is this many fights deep. I mean, he's got 21 professional fights and still can barely throw across. His last 3 wins, though, let's go ahead and talk about this. His last 3 wins are against the shell of Carlos Condit, Diego freaking Sanchez, and Rafael dos Anjos, who's an aging veteran that decided to move back down to 155. I have always been unimpressed with Chiesa besides his ground game. And he has had massive size advantages over all 3 of his last 3 opponents. Carlos Condit, a guy who retired and came back, has the worst takedown defense in the UFC's history. Diego Sanchez, who's a bloated 155er, who is also retiring this year, who is also much smaller, doesn't follow the game plan whatsoever, and is training with a yoga instructor these days. And Rafael dos Anjos, who, even though, yes, Rafael dos Anjos is one of the better grapplers in the division and had solid takedown defense until just recently, if you watch that fight closely, Rafael dos Anjos has a lot more success than people remember him having defending those takedowns and reversing situations and keeping it on the feet. He just got ground out by a bigger, stronger guy at 170 that he wasn't able to handle. Magny's got a reach advantage. Magny's a good wrestler. And if Chiesa doesn't get a first-round submission, the longer this fight goes, the more it favors Neil Magny. The fact that it's a 5-round fight, in my opinion, is a bonus for us. I think that they should have baked that into the line. I think people should realize how much of an advantage that 5th round is for Neil Magny, because Chiesa has never been to the championship rounds. He barely makes it to round 3. He's got a bad gas tank, and he's only able to do so at 170. He could never get there at 155. Neil actually gets his way through 15 minutes on a regular basis and never shows signs of slowing down. And the one time he did get to round 4 in the UFC was against Ponzinibbio. If it wasn't for those leg kicks, he looked fine gas tank-wise. He has been 5 rounds. Earlier in his career, back in 2015, he had a main event spot against Kelvin Gastelum where he went the full 25 minutes as well. Rohan, I'm like 90% sure it's 5 rounds. I'm pretty sure it's 5 rounds. I think they announced it as the 5 round main event. They haven't specified that it's a 3 round main event. It's a main event. It should be 5 rounds. So I'm pretty sure. But what we've got, in my opinion, is you can't get off a streak. You know what I mean? You just can't. You can only bet a streak once. Once that streak is over, that's it. It's gone. You're never getting it back. I am rolling right now with Neil Magny, and I'm not getting off this train until I have to. We've cashed 3 times in a row with Neil Magny. I'm going back to the well. I got Neil Magny at minus 130. That line is finally starting to inch its way back up because I think people realized it got a little too low. Chiesa is plus 115. He opened up plus 150. If you got that big dog line, I don't hate it quite so much. Magny opened at minus 185. And this is a spot where I like these spots where I agree with the bookies. When the bookie says, look, bro, Magny should be about a 2-1 favorite here, and the betting market says, no, and they bet that dog all the way down to a pick'em, I love coming back the other way and going, you know what? I should have to lay minus 175 with this guy. I should have to lay minus 185 with this guy, but I only have to pay minus 130. I locked him in at minus 130. We talked about the judges on Fight Island. If these guys are going control for control, that's going to be a wash. I expect Magny to be taken over at some point on the feet. Magny's going to have the volume. Magny's got a huge striking advantage. And with Chiesa, the way he tires out from grappling, with this thing being a 5-round main event, I would not be shocked if Neil Magny got a finish. Now, the total looks like it's set at 2.5 here. It's juiced heavily to the over, obviously, but I guess I'm going to have to research and make sure that that is a 5-round main event. I want to look. I want to double check and make sure. Yep, 5-round main event. Absolutely. So this thing's going over. I do think it'll get to the 3rd round. I do think it'll get to the 4th round. And I think that Magny will be able to shut down the offensive grappling of Chiesa. He's got really awkward offensive grappling. He's not like a blast double type of guy. He's not a Khabib type of guy. If he can get you up against the cage, if he can press you against the fence, if he can suck you out, if he can trip you down, that's how he gets you to the floor. And that's Magny's game. Like, that's what Magny does best, is get up against the fence and grind people against that cage. So when they go toe-to-toe up against the fence like that, I really think Magny's just going to be the bigger, stronger guy, and he's plenty experienced in that exact game plan. I think he'll be able to get the takedown defense going. I think he'll grind out Chiesa. Chiesa will tire, and I wouldn't be shocked if Magny actually ends up getting some kind of a TKO finish late in the fight. So even though I know New Year's resolutions going straight down to hell at this point, this might be a sprinkle rounds 4 and 5 on the Magny finish props, because he's a decision monster. We're going to get so much value on those props because the later the fight goes, the more Magny should be taking over. And if Chiesa gasses out and ends up curling up in a ball, I could see the TKO coming.